And I'm back, and today what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together the shuttle clutch control valve from my 580 CK tractor. Now, I know it's been a long time. I want to apologize to all my subscribers that have been waiting for this part 2 video. It's just that 2021's become a very busy year for me. Now, you remember in the last video I had trouble getting this little spool out, and I showed that in quite a bit of detail during the video. Okay, so that looks reusable. I'm going to use that. What I brought in was some seals that go on the end or over the spools. I've got those seals. I couldn't get a gasket for it, so I'll show you here. There's this gasket right here. I don't have it, so I'm going to make this gasket up. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, I got to uncover the tractor. Get that out of the way. Here we are. Okay, just as I left it, brick over it. And I had a plastic bag over it. Now, I'll get that bag out of there. Okay. Okay, I'm starting to lift that gasket up, and you can see there's questionable stuff under there, so it's most likely an asbestos gasket. So what I like to do is wet it down. So I got some WD-40 here. Just keep it wet as you're going. You should be okay. Wear a mask if you got one. All precautions are necessary with asbestos. Not good stuff. Okay, I've been wetting it down with WD-40 as I go, scraping under it. And it looks like I'm going to get a template here. I'm going to be able to use this one as a template. Look at that. So that's pretty good. I'll be able to use that as a template. So I got it soaking wet with WD-40. Just be careful with asbestos. You know it's asbestos. 1968 tractor. It's going to be asbestos. Okay, let's take a look at this gasket material. It's a Felpro, part number 3046. And that'll cut it off. So that's one. And there's be another one right here. Moving so far. Okay, so we're going to put this old gasket on top of what we've already cut. Okay, let's just mark those holes. I've got a felt marker here. That's going to make a difference. I think we got it. Don't have a hole punch. I'm just going to use the casing here. So I know that one's got to go right there. It's a big hole. So let me just get that over that. Let me see here. That's good. Let's use the ball peen hammer on it. And then we've got another one down here, so we're going to put it over that hole, like that. Let me see, right there. Okay. Okay. There's my old gasket on top of the new gasket. All the holes are punched out. See that? Okay. That out of there. And that out of there. And these ones here, we'll flip them sideways and pull them out. Look up there and make sure there's nothing else jammed in there. There's another piece there. Yeah, I get all that out of there. There's one more piece. And pull that one out. And I'm going to blow all this through with air before I clean it up finally. Okay. Okay, I'm just using WD-40 on here, and I'm using a razor blade knife, like a window scraper knife. I'm just going around, I'm getting all the remnants of the gasket off there. I don't want this to leak. Just going through all those spots, making sure there's no more gasket at all left there. Because on something so flat, you know, a little bit of gasket will make a difference. Old gasket left on there is gonna make a high spot. Okay, that's looking pretty good. A little WD-40. And some emery. And a good scrub. Yeah, it's coming. I'm gonna clean out some of these ports a bit too. Now's the time to do it. Okay, so I got that cleaned up pretty good. I'm just gonna take some compressed air and blow that out of there. Okay, I'm going to change these two seals, this one and that one. There's one. There's the old one. There's the new one. Yeah, okay, that one came out. A little bit of a fight. Got it out of there. Yeah, it came out in three pieces. The outer race and the spring and the rubber. Okay, so we're going to clean up these bores a little bit and we'll put those new seals in. Okay, I got those cleaned up. All right, now the new seals. All right, sit it in there like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a socket that just matches the inside of this bore and tap that down gently. Okay, so to put these new seals in, what I've done is I've picked out some sockets that just fit the outside of the seal. That and that. This new one here, I'm just going to sit it gently in here, and then I'm going to okay, so you just want to use those sockets, one for each of them, just like that until it's bottomed out in the bore. See, there's a recess here on the top. You can see there's paint on this recess. So the old seal obviously was below that. Same here, there's paint up on this upper portion above the seal. So they do go right down. They go home. Just like that one's home. Okay, now before I put these spools in, most people that are assembling something for hydraulics are just going to use hydraulic fluid on them. But because this is going to probably sit in the tractor for months before I get to actually activate the clutch again and, you know, start the engine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble this with a bit of grease, and that's going to ensure that they don't seize again. And when it does start up, that little bit of grease will be dispersed amongst all the volume in the shuttle clutch, and I'm going to change it shortly after. So I'm going to run the tractor for a short while, and then I'll be changing all that fluid anyway. Okay, so don't worry about just a bit of grease on these spools. It's not conventional, but this will protect it and keep it from seizing until I get back to it. Okay, I'll just get that ready and I'll show you how that going in. Okay, see how I got that spool greased up? Okay. Now, down it goes. And down it goes. Down it goes. few movements. Very good. Okay, same with the other one. Okay, put some grease on it. That. Yeah, I'll keep it free until I can get back to it. Okay, there it is. Good coating of grease on there. Move it down in the bore. Cycle it a few times. Now, the other one, there's the one that was seized. So, I'm going to grease this little guy up. Like that. See that little guy there? You see him in the drawing here? It's that little guy right there, number 4. So the orientation on it is the blunt end goes towards the plug and the little point goes down into the bore. So that's how that's going to go down in there, just like that. Down in. Okay. Good. Now behind it, we're going to put a couple of things. We're going to put back in what was in there. So what was in there was the plug and 2 pressure adjusting shims and 2 springs. All right, so we put a little grease on these springs like that. That inside of that one. So the little one goes down inside the big one. So that goes down on top of that and push it down. Okay. And the next thing, you remember when we took this apart, there was 2 pressure adjusting shims in behind that spring between the plug and the spring. Okay. So we're going to put the 2 of them there. We got them both of them together. Okay. We'll put that down on top of there. Push it down. And then we're going to put the plug in. Okay. And the plug just goes in. And okay, so that plug is down in there. It's a 7/8 head on this bolt. And just snug. Like that. That's good. When we took this off, when we unbolted this, there was a little spring with a ball. And what that ball does is that ball sits in the detent of this one. I can pull that out and show you again. Pull that out. See those detents along there? Okay, so that spring sits up from the bottom. Ball sits up in those detents there. So when you move it, it's got some positive engagement. You can feel it move over and then into another detent. So there's 3 positions there. Okay? That's what that's for. Now we can't forget to put that in when we before we put this on. This has got to sit up in a hole in the bottom here. Okay? It's got to go right up in that hole there. You'll see it here. I'll show you on the block. You can see there's that little spring with the ball detent, and that goes up, and there's a hole for it, and it just basically sits when we put that in and before we put this housing back down on the engine. Don't forget that. Okay, so I got the surface of this plate cleaned up, but I realized there's another gasket under it here, and I think I remember when I was tapping on this plate to get the valve out, that gasket lifted a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this plate off as well and make a new gasket. There's just 2 bolts over here, one in there and one in there. I'm going to get those out and we'll take this plate off. Okay, that one. Another one right there. Okay, 2 different lengths. All right. Now I'm just going to give this a little tap and see. Okay, there it is. Okay, let me get that lifted out of there. Out it comes. There. Just like that. Yeah, I think it'll be better. It'll probably leak if I don't change that gasket, so I'm glad I've taken out the second plate. All right, we'll get that cleaned up, make another gasket, and we'll put this together. Okay, so that's the bottom of that plate. There's the top. Okay, and as you can see, the gasket came off with it, most of it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to soak it down, see if I can scrape it off, and use it as a template again. I'm finding if I just let it soak a few minutes and then try gently putting a scraper under it, it's coming off. Because when I've tried to just tear it off, it rips it. So just go slow. Might be able to get that off in one piece where I can use it as a bit of a template. Like that. There. There. Yeah, about 98% of it came off in one piece. All right, so I'll be able to use that as a template. Very good. I noticed something with this gasket. There's a hole cut in the gasket that doesn't line up with anything. Sometimes you see that in gaskets because they might make one gasket that applies to 2 or 3 different valve bodies or whatever. But you see that hole right there? That's a factory hole in the gasket, but it doesn't go anywhere. See that? Okay. Gonna clean this up a little more, blow it out with air, and we'll make a new gasket. And we'll be just about ready to put that on there, I think. Okay, so all these holes that I've got cut so far are actual round holes in the casing. The rest are going to be round holes that just go in one end or the other of these passages. So how I'm going to figure that out, I got that on there, and I put my old gasket on there as a template. Okay, just going to go over there like that. I'm going to put a couple of bolts in the holes. One like that, one like that, one like that. Okay, and then I can take my marker and I'm just going to draw on these ones here. That's just a hole in the end of a passage. That's the hole in the end of a passage, and so is that one. And this one actually doesn't go anywhere. So what I mean, I'll even put that one in there. That's the one that goes nowhere. But yeah, I'm just going to mark this out and I'll get those cut out. There. See, these all line up with these passages, so that'll allow fluid through. Okay, I'm just about ready to put this together. I've got the new gaskets cut out. New gasket for the bottom. This will sit on top of that. This sits on here. Valve body on top of that. That's the front of the tractor. The driver's seat back here. Okay, I've verified with my old gaskets that the new gaskets are correct. Okay, and I'm just going to wipe off the surfaces with alcohol, blow everything out with compressed air, clean up my bolts, and I'll put this on and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I've got that surface ready for the gasket. And over here on this little table, I've got everything set up to go in. I've got the 2 new gaskets. I got the plates all cleaned up. I got all the bolts ready. I put grease on the threads. Got a ratchet. It's 9/16. Okay, so I got the first gasket underneath here. I got the plate in. And I got the bolts in over here. The first 2 bolts I'm going to put in are these 2. Okay, just partially snug down for now until we get the rest in. Like that. Okay, I almost forgot to put the spring and ball in for the detent. Okay, just about slipped my mind. I put that in, I had everything ready. Got the bottom plate sitting there, gasket ready to go. And I was just about to put that on, and I thought, I'm missing the detent. So I went and got it. There it is. Yeah, it's this hole right here. Believe it or not, it's sitting down the bottom of this recess, but that is exactly where it goes, because you can see, I don't know if you can see or not, but when I move that spool valve back and forth, I can see those detents going by the hole. Okay, so I'm going to put it about the middle detent. And I'm going to put the ball in there. I know, it's unbelievable. And then the spring just goes in there like that. That's it. And then it sits down on top of the valve body, just like that. And that's what holds the pressure on the detent. I can't believe that. I don't know who came up with that. That does not seem very brilliant, but that's how they do it. Okay, I'll see if we can slide that on there. Okay, you see how it's kind of riding up on the spring there? See this? See that? The gasket's in here. The gasket right there, and I'm just trying to get a bolt started. Okay, I got that little detent and the spring in there. It's pushed down. Get the bolts in. Now, for anybody that lost track of what bolts go where, there's some longer bolts in this assembly. This bolt and this one here, these two on the right, are the longest bolts in the assembly. They're quite long. And this bolt here is just slightly shorter than the other bolts that go into this housing. So if you line them all up, these other bolts, like the three along the back, are just maybe 3/8 of an inch longer than this one. If you put one of those in this hole, it'll bottom out before it tightens up. So you got to make sure this is the shortest of the long bolts. Now there's a really short bolt that goes on the front of the pressure relief valve, but that's separate. Okay, so just keep track of those separately. But when you get to here, these are the two longest ones, and the three along the back are the same length. And this one is about, like I say, 3/8 of an inch shorter than those other three. Don't ask me why, but that's what it is. Okay, I'm just going to snug this down, and I'm going to get this covered up for tonight, and tomorrow I'm going to put that clutch linkage in for you, and I'll show you how that's done. Thanks for watching. Share, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you again here soon. Bye for now.